a very eventful week, and I'd like to apologize for. I wanted to release a live yesterday, I never got a chance to. So I'd like to apologize for that. I'm doing it now, and I'm gonna have to try and summarize as much information as I can. And I'm also gonna have to put a disclaimer that I'm not a professional political analyst. I do not fully understand how politics works, how government works. There are a lot of terms I struggle with. So I'd urge many of you who are maybe looking for some type of clarity on politics, political structures, governments, etc., to please search online, do a Google search, look at relevant, verifiable links and articles. Maybe watch more expert-led platforms, whether mainstream or alternative. But I'm not that. I'm just Penuel the Black Pen, and I share my thoughts and my opinions on a range of topics, and I know a little bit about a little bit. Mother Nature can be really cruel, and Mother Nature can be a reminder that we're not fully in control on this planet. We can complain about politicians, we can complain about business people, we can complain about criminals, we can complain about so many people, but when nature decides to hit, nature hits. We are into winter in South Africa, and there have been certain places that have seen snow, very beautiful, but comes with a lot of cold. This week we've had heavy cold fronts around the country. More especially, there's been flooding around the coast. And I'd like to take this time to send my sympathies and condolences to anyone who has lost a loved one in the flooding that we've seen. In the Eastern Cape, I know Nelson Mandela Bay, which is around Gqeberha, those areas, I think Karecha, there were 10 people that died from flooding, including a very young girl. I think she was 8 years old. In Buffalo City, which I think is East London, Emonti, those sides of the Eastern Cape, I think last I checked, 3 people had died from flooding. This is not government corruption. This is not criminals. This is just nature doing what nature does. Of course, just like the Durban floods that we saw and parts of KZN flooding, we can obviously then start looking into, could these people have gotten better housing, been better placed, etc. There's currently a scramble to assist people in Cape Town, where a lot of informal settlements have been flooded as well. I think last I checked as well, over 9,000 people have been affected. I'm not sure about any casualties, any fatalities as yet, but it's bad. Some of these areas have been declared national disaster spaces. Organizations such as Gift of the Givers, Red Cross, and I think others have been involved. I saw something on Twitter about Umkhonto weSizwe, MK party of Jacob Zuma, also at a warehouse collecting food, parcels, and other aid for certain people out there. I'm hoping that many other political parties, businesses, ordinary people, civil organizations are getting involved to help people, especially in those areas. And specifically some of the politicians, business people that benefit and profit from some of these people that are affected. So my sympathies and condolences go to those people. And yeah, again, if any loved one of yours has been affected, I'm truly sorry. Nature, like I said, can be a bitch, and this is one of those times. Please stay warm. It's cold. It's very cold in Johannesburg. I think our maximum today is 15, but it doesn't feel like it, and especially with the wind, it's not great. I don't know what a national of government unity means. This is why I was adding a disclaimer. I don't know what as well. I'm going to read on the GNU. From 1994, it says to about 1999, but I think even before that it ended. On the 27th of April 1994 to the 3rd of February 1997, so it was 3 years, 2 years in fact, South Africa was governed by a government of national unity. Why am I raising this? I'm raising this because Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of the ANC, spoke. I don't watch, so he was speaking about some of the conversations and discussions they've been having with potential coalition partners. For those of you who may not know, the ANC did not reach its majority of 50%. They just got over 40%. So for them to kind of rule and be able to make decisions in parliament, the understanding is that they need coalition partners that whenever they have to rule on policy will give them that extra 10%. You don't necessarily need to have a coalition. It just makes things easier and makes things move quicker. A minority government would be the ANC with 40%, and then the other parties, DA with 22, Condoleezza with 14 point something, and EFF with, I think, 9 point something. Whenever they have to vote on policies, they will decide, and people might vote for or against. With the coalition, the idea is that because we are a coalition partner, when we table something, we'd like you guys to support us here. If you're not sure, we can discuss it on the side, but then agree. It's just to make decision-making and those things easier. We are the government of national unity. And I'd like to think the ANC didn't need it at the time, but let me read this. Sorry, let me read this. But we might be going into a government of national unity. That's why I'm raising this. South Africa was governed by a government of national unity under the leadership of the African National Congress. After the first election, over 19 million, close to 20 million votes were counted. 193,000 were invalid or spoiled. The ANC, in alliance with the Labour Confederation of COSATU and the South African Communist Party, this is the SACP, fell slightly short of a 2/3 majority. So 2/3 would be 65%, which you didn't need. You need 50% to be a majority. The government of national unity was established and headed by Nelson Mandela as a president and F.W. de Klerk of the National Party as his deputy. Mandela's cabinet included ministers from other political parties, as well as members of the National Party and Inkatha Freedom Party, which was led by Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi at that time. We lost him last year. The notion of government of national unity encompassing all political parties that enjoyed a threshold of 10% or more of support in the electorate came from the ANC as one amongst many instruments to ensure inclusivity during the transition period from apartheid to democracy, which is 1990 to 1994. The mission of the GNU was to oversee a new South African constitution, as well as to radically improve the quality of life of all people of South Africa. Goes on to how the government of national unity set up the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, to try and find peace and healing and allow people to voice out and speak and confess and be forgiven for the atrocities of apartheid. The National Party held its Federal Executive Committee, where it decided to withdraw from the government of national unity, with effect from 30 June 1996. On 3 June 1996, the NP, under the leadership of F.W. de Klerk, who was also the deputy president of the country at the time, announced its withdrawal from the GNU. The main reasons cited by F.W. de Klerk was the exclusion of joint decision-making from the final constitution, the National Party's lack of influence on government policy, his retirement from politics in August 1996, and that the National Party had adopted its new role as a fully fledged opposition party. The National Party inaugurated a new leadership under Martinus van Schalkwyk. Later, the National Party ended its cooperation with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission on the ground of political bias. Those are some of the conversations we're currently having. I was just giving you some context on what is a government of national unity. Some kind of agreeing broadly, which is a pile of rubbish. Anyways, what did I want to read here? This was taken from Cyril Ramaphosa speaking. So Cyril Ramaphosa, my understanding, people can correct me, is not the president of South Africa. We have gone to elections. They've been concluded. We currently do not have a president. If anything, he might be an interim president until these 2 weeks where Parliament has sat and decided on a president of the country, or he might be the president until that point. But as far as I'm concerned, he's not president because he hasn't been voted in. Number one, by the people of South Africa, and number two, by Parliament, because we haven't set a new Parliament as yet. So Cyril speaks. Constructive talks have already been held with parties including the EFF of Julius Malema, the DA of John Steenhuisen, Inkatha Freedom Party of Velenkosini Hlabisa, and the National Freedom Party, I'm not sure who the leader is there, the NFP, and the Patriotic Alliance of Gayton McKenzie. According to Ramaphosa, who called for a national dialogue to unite the nation around common goals. Gayton McKenzie spoken about how the ANC sat with him. I think the EFF has spoken about this. The DA, that was one of the first conversations that was held with the ANC going to coalition with the DA, because 40% plus 22 takes them to 66 immediately. And then the DA has been preaching this potential doomsday coalition, which I've said has racist undertones, in my opinion, of the ANC going into coalition with the EFF and MK of Jacob Zuma. The EFF's leader, Julius Malema, used to be the leader of the ANC Youth League before he was expelled. Floyd Shibambu, Mboiseni Ndlozi, who are leaders in the EFF, were also part of that youth league. Jacob Zuma was the president of the ANC before he was asked to step down, and is the previous president of South Africa before Cyril Ramaphosa. He leads the MK. And for some people, they would say the most natural thing is to work with Julius and Jacob because these are ANC people. The DA under John Steenhuisen, this is the official opposition. And if you bring in racial politics, it is the white party versus these two black parties. And for people that believe in left and right, it's extreme leftist or leftist parties, being your communism, Marxism, socialism, MK, EFF versus right-wing parties, pro-capitalist, what you'd call Republican in America, being the DA, maybe a Freedom Front Plus, etc. And then the IFP might be more centrist. They seem to be liked by black people, but it seems like even from Chief Mangosuthu Buthelez's days, he had decent relations with the apartheid government. They've had decent relations with white leadership. And the IFP is part of the multi-party charter, the Moonshot Pact, which was led by the DA. Konto Wesizwe is not part of these conversations that have been held. And one of the things that came out in the news when I read this morning was, I don't know if it was Umbalula that said they tried to contact President Jacob Zuma, or president of MK, Jacob Zuma. And he said, don't call me, I'll call you. Yeah. The ANC, this is from the article I read, the ANC faces an uphill battle in getting its rivals to work together. DA leader John Steenhuisen has ruled out working with either the MK or EFF, which both favor nationalizing mines and banks. While Zuma's party has said it will only work with the ANC if Ramaphosa is replaced, a condition that's been rejected outright by the ANC. Nelson Mandela led a government of national unity after South Africa's first democratic elections in 1994 that included the National Party, which ruled the country during apartheid. It lasted until 1997 when the National Party walked out. I said something here about the EFF. I just wanted to see where in my notes I put it. Okay, doesn't matter. Two non-negotiable conditions according to the EFF before we went to elections were, if the ANC goes under 50 and they need coalition partners, the EFF is willing to go into coalition with the ANC. Two conditions. Number one, Floyd Shibambu, the deputy leader of the EFF, becomes Minister of Finance, taking over from Enoch Godongwana. Number two, Cyril Ramaphosa steps down as president of the country, essentially. They will not work with Cyril. And people said the EFF has got a more cozier relationship with Paul Mashatile, the deputy president of the ANC. I've not heard Julius Malema speak about the Cyril Ramaphosa aspect since elections. If anything, the EFF seems to not be as loud and as aggressive as they were before the elections. Not sure if it's because the elections weren't as expected, or if they just, during this 2 weeks, also just taking it easy and trying to just see how to strategize and move accordingly. And yes, MK, especially one of their spokespeople, Duduzile Zuma, the daughter of Jacob Zuma, has said one of their non-negotiable conditions is that Cyril Ramaphosa must not be the ANC leader if they are going to be speaking to the ANC. And the ANC has not been forthcoming in the way forward, which has made a lot of people concerned, worried, unsure, and there's been a lot of speculation. A lot of people believing that the ANC should go into coalition with the DA. The DA got the second most votes. You'd assume it would be easy. Go with the second most party. But because the policies are different, because we have racial politics in this country, I think the DA said things like they'd like to remove BEE. They don't believe in some of the socialist policies of the ANC and other more, not radical per se, but other more left-wing organizations that want to nationalize and the like. and expropriate land without compensation. So many black people, poor black people, do not support the idea of a DA-ANC coalition. On the other side, mainstream media has been very loud, and it's propaganda, and it's because we know it's captured. Because the owners are what we call white monopoly capital, wealthy white people in this country that are beneficiaries of the legacies of pre-democracy. Sadly, they've also been huge beneficiaries of post-democracy. Mainstream media has been very loud on how the ANC has to work with the DA because it's going to be good for the markets. The markets are going to react. Something about the rand being affected by a potential coalition with the EFF and MK. Same rand that never ever moves when there are other scandals in this country under Cyril Ramaphosa, which tells me very directly that our economy is biased towards a certain way. It's one of the things I have raised, especially on social media, that if we are going to be threatened with foreign investors, if we are going to be threatened by capital, if we are going to be threatened by big economic players, and if we are going to agree that their opinion matters, then what's the point of voting? Let them choose the leaders because it's clear that they do. And if they don't, then they punish the country in various ways. Some people are saying it's fine, let them punish the country because we don't want them dictating to us. So it becomes that issue. But there have been various coalition models that people have been playing around with. ANC-DA, ANC EFF may not necessarily be enough, but maybe ANC-EFF-PA, ANC-EFF-MK, of course, ANC-DA, IFP, ANC-EFF-IFP, many other variations as well. But right now, the ANC hasn't made a decision. And now Ramaphosa speaking about working together, speaking to all political parties. So we might be getting a government of national unity, whatever that really means. Now, other exciting things, exciting in inverted commas, that have been happening this week is the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Zizi Kodwa, has been charged for corruption. 1.6 million rand. He is resigned as the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. And I think he's left certain ANC structures as well. People that believe that Cyril and some of his handlers are involved in attacking some of these people, believe Cyril and his people are striking, removing people that are problematic. Paul Mashatile, leading up to the elections, had huge spreads on some of your favorite newspapers on his alleged corruptions and there were talks that he was being attacked. Currently, the ANC hasn't said anything about Paul Mashatile, and it looks like he's currently protected. A case that had been raised before elections as well is resurfacing. Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, and a Dubai trip that was funded by, I think it's Sedgers is the name of the company, a supplier to government, and how that was inappropriate, and that might be getting raised again. The ANC seems split. Umamulindiwe Sisulu, who is a next generation of Walter and Albertina Sisulu, ANC heavies, has said they don't want to work with the DA. Many leaders in the ANC refuse to work with the DA. They say it would go against what black people died and struggled for. There are many black leaders within the ANC who believe they should work with the DA because of the market, because it's more centrist, it's more of the country. It's maybe the memories of ANC and the National Party, or Mandela and FW de Klerk, becomes those type of talks. But the party seems split. And there's a chance that if the ANC goes with the DA, there's a chance that whether the ANC goes with the DA or goes with the EFF/MK, there are certain ANC leaders that are going to leave the party. And the ANC may sit further, which again may speak to this compromised, blurry, vague, broad unity, government of national unity, to try and include as many people as possible so that they don't leave, but they stay squabbling on ideologies. The ANC seems to no longer have a straight mandate on what it is that they are doing. Because they became big, they led the country, maybe they've started feeling like the ANC represents all South Africans. That is not true. The ANC pre-1990 was very firm on where it stood, on land, on the economy, on uplifting poor black people in particular, and ensuring black people are involved in the mainstream economy and involved in political decisions. From Mandela's days, it seems the ANC and many convenient white leaders, business especially, have tried to blurry the mandate of the ANC to make it seem like, no, the ANC is actually for everybody. But that was never the case. Those were some of the things that Julius Malema raised, correctly so, when he was part of the ANC, that you guys have abandoned nationalization. Because Nelson Mandela went to sit with people like Margaret Thatcher, went to the World Economic Forum and came back and parked it. But it wasn't formally stated that we are no longer nationalizing and therefore we'll never nationalize. It seemed more very much compromises across the board. Julius was like, no, we need to go back to the Freedom Charter. And people still don't have the land. You guys have tried land redistribution, restitution, etc. Some people have gotten land, a small percentage, I think 2% of the land has been sorted out in some way, but people by and large still don't have land. The economy is by and large still owned by the same people, just with sprinklings of new faces being ANC leaders who cushion themselves very comfortably, but to the detriment of the majority. And in 2024, it seems the poor black majority that the ANC, PAC, AZAPO, and other parties were fighting for during the struggle, those poor black people have gotten poorer. Their lives don't look like they're improving. Now, the DA maybe doesn't see that as an alarming bell. And their solution to poverty is we need more good work with the West. We need to boost the economy, remove minimum wage, which means people must get paid less than they do now, which is pathetic. Ease the labor law so that it's easy to hire and fire. But does this serve the poor majority? And the short answer is it doesn't. The ANC has a tripartite alliance. This is something they agreed on years ago during Mandela's time. Labor unions, the South African Communist Party, SACP, the COSATU, is the Congress, South African trade unions, maybe. And they said, look, we'll work together. COSATU said, we'll bring all our people to vote for the ANC. The SACP, the same. Of which some of these, I stand to be corrected, but I think Abo Zuma, Abo Krisani, Dr. Blaine Zimane, they didn't belong initially to the ANC. They belonged to these side groups. I think Minister Rob Davies, is it Rob or Rob Davies, who used to be the Minister of the Department of Trade and Industry, DTI, and other leaders as well. They've threatened the ANC to say, if you guys work with the DA, it goes against our agreements and we will break away. There are people that don't seem to know about this tripartite alliance. They're like, who's COSATU? Who's the SACP? And why the hell would they threaten the ANC? Who do they think they are? They are partners, they are parties in an alliance. COPE was a notable breakaway from the ANC when Jacob Zuma came in. They could maybe feel that the ANC is no longer the ANC of Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu and Nelson Mandela. COPE has fizzled into obscurity now because they didn't even get a seat in parliament. The UDM of Bantu Olomisa, when it broke away from the ANC, was not that big, but it was frustrations with General Bantu Olomisa and some of the leadership of the ANC. References Tabo Bester as well in that. Then there was a breakaway of the EFF, being the Youth League, and the killing of the Youth League, of which now the leader of the Youth League, I think Colin Malachi, if I'm not mistaken, has gone on to say that they also are against an ANC going into coalition with the DA, this new Youth League. But they killed the Youth League, and the Youth League went to become the EFF. Also citing, you guys have sold out from what the ANC's mandate stood for on behalf of the people of South Africa. Then the most recent major one was Umkhonto weSizwe, Jacob Zuma, 14.6% of the votes, becoming the third biggest party in the country. To say, Jacob Zuma saying on platforms, I want to save the ANC because this is not the ANC that I was a part of, and this is not the ANC that our people fought for, struggled for, and have been supporting. Calling the ANC Ukoko. That's now the new name of the ANC Ukoko. The party of Okoko, Omkulu. They've lost it, and this is obviously jabs at Cyril Ramaphosa and the fact that his big support base is big business, the West, etc., to say that's not the ANC that we were there for. And that's why even before the elections, there were these pro-Palestine, pro-Russia stances. Even from Julius Malema to be like, that's the ANC I know. The ANC that is pro-Palestine and not pro-Israel. Because the Israelis were supporting the apartheid government. We are an ANC that is pro-Russia, not Ukraine, because Ukraine sides with the West and America, and Russia was a good ally and supporter of the liberation movements, training even guerrilla soldiers at the time. Cyril Ramaphosa seems to be more cushioned into the West, King Charles and the United Kingdom, Joe Biden, and doesn't seem to have as favorable a relationship with some of maybe the BRICS leaders, whereas Jacob Zuma does. Very good relationship. So it's like we want to rescue the ANC. The ANC keeps trying to be this broad church that is all inclusive. And maybe some people need to start getting honest and saying, guys, break this thing up. Break it up. Yes, it's nice to be inclusive, but it's not working. We've still got serious racial division in this country. We've still got serious income inequality, and income inequality that seems to be racially linked as well. We can't appease everyone. We need to know where South Africa stands. Are we with BRICS? Are we with the West? We want to be with both, but they're clashing. What does it serve and who does it serve for us to choose either side? Does it serve the poor masses or does it serve the rich elite? And the notions on the ground are that Cyril Ramaphosa and his ANC faction and the DA support a more West, these guys that have been making money from apartheid British colonial rule days, whereas these other guys, the Zuma, RET faction, the BRICS, the EFFs, the pro-Russia, pro-Palestine guys are more about, no, we want our people to do better and pull away from the West and its grip. Mweletse Mbeki, the brother of ex-President Thabo Bester, speaks very much about how South Africa is still a British colony and how we still serve the United Kingdom. Nothing's changed. There are South Africans and South African leaders who I don't believe they would like to serve Russia and China and India maybe, but they are like, we would like to create new economic and maybe political alliances and allies with the BRICS guys, because they don't come with being condescending and patronizing. And they understand that the majority of poor, especially black people in South Africa and on the African continent are still languishing in poverty because of the legacies of colonial rule. And in South Africa, also apartheid. And maybe we need to be honest. And every person needs to be honest about where they stand. It's cute for people like me to be like, I just want a functioning South Africa where things get done. But the reality is the world is not that cute. There are sides. Sides need to be picked. And rich, poor, those are sides. You can't be like, I'm for everyone, you're rich. You can kick and scream and that other child is poor. They also want everything to prosper, but they are poor. You're black. The next person is white. You can't choose it. And unfortunately, it affects things out there because we've got BEE. If you're white, you're not meant to benefit from BEE. It affects you. AfriForum and others have fought these things saying they are racist policies, which frustrates even people like myself to say this is a very inflammatory, patronizing stance, considering that the Constitution is about fixing and redressing issues of the past, and BEE is meant to resolve that. But the reality that is only served a few politically linked elite to the detriment of the majority. How do we resolve that? So maybe we need to start having real conversations about where do people stand? Where do people stand? And what exactly are we trying to do? It would be nice if we could split this country in half and say all the pro-West people one side, all the pro-BRICS people on the other side, and let each side do what it wants without interference, which is what Putin has complained about. NATO interfering with their geopolitical issues with Ukraine and getting involved in supplying Ukraine. Why? Why would America want to set up bases in Botswana and other places? Because that means we should also let China and Russia set up bases in other places as well. Why not? Why must America have over 600 military bases around the world and get to decide and dictate what they deem to be democracy? We do not have democracy in this country because the people do not govern. The people do get to vote, but by the time you get to vote, the process and the model and the political structures have been so destroyed already. To compete politically in this country, Up until recently, generally, you had to be a political party. You couldn't do it as an independent. That is not something that's decided by the people, by the way. You might be like, yeah, but the people would have. No. That's almost like saying the people agreed to apartheid. Sometimes it takes doing the uncomfortable, unfavorable things, revolution, anarchy, to change things, because clearly we're not being listened to. The people didn't choose for political parties to be the only way to get into parliament and to run. But that was a sleight of hand, political maneuvering. Luckily, people fought. The Constitutional Court said actually it's unconstitutional for only parties. Independents were introduced, but it's still throttled. So you need to be part of a political party. Those political parties need to have money. To compete around the country, I think it came up to 75,000. I think 75,000 rand. I don't think 750,000. I think 75,000. That's money that the ordinary South African doesn't have. To campaign effectively, posters, being on social media ads, mainstream media ads, you need a lot of money. People will tell you about the hundreds of millions spent by the biggest parties to campaign. That's exclusionary in a country where the majority of people are poor. We do not have constituency-based voting, which was alive during apartheid days, where you say, no, we will vote for someone to represent our region. Not a province, it's too big. Our region, and we know that we get to choose an independent or a political party. It's up to us. And those people will move up and go all the way to parliament, but we don't have that. We don't have that. And then even once they're there, certain people get given money from tenderpreneurs, business people, foreign investors, foreign business people to push certain agendas. That's not a democracy. That is capitalism in its various forms, dictating the few people that we get to supposedly choose. It's essentially you sending your child to a specific school because you can afford a certain amount of money. And you're like, oh, these are the 5 schools you can choose because I can only pay this much school fees. Yes, but what about those? No, you can't have those because we can't afford those. Okay, so I can't really choose freely. No, you can, but within these 5. And when you get to these 5 schools, even if you look at them, when you have to choose, let's say sports, all of them have the same 2-3 sporting codes. I want to do rowing. I want to do horse riding. No, they don't have that there. You can only choose between football, netball, and cricket. But I want to play rugby. No, these are the... And by the time you choose football, it's like, oh, this was a democratic choice. It wasn't. It's engineered. What you call free will. Choose me if you don't choose me. If you don't choose me, you'll burn in hell. I choose to burn in hell. That's not free will. That's not free will. Let's keep it going. With all the noise that we have now, right now, Cyril Ramaphosa has remained untouched, and it's shocked me, saddened me. The ANC seems to be continuing with Cyril, who's lost them 18% of the votes. John Steenhuisen did not do that well at the elections, and the same team that called Mmusi Maimane a failure at 20%, just over 20% of the votes, is saying nothing about John Steenhuisen, which again now leads people on the ground to be like, but you see, you guys are racist. You were very quick to call Mmusi Maimane a failure. Nothing with John Steenhuisen. Nothing. Again, telling people like myself that this is a sham democracy and it's all about what the media and the money people, whatever propaganda they want to peddle. But this coalition noise has allowed Cyril and John Steenhuisen to go unscathed. Can add Julius Malema there as well, who's gone on a platform to say that he's in charge. He's in charge. Speaking very arrogantly about an EFF which is not done well. It hasn't done well. They got 10% in the last elections. People like myself thought it would grow. They went just under 10%. If anything, they've kind of failed. And they're not introspecting currently, and it could be, maybe it's still early days, they're not introspecting on what it is that hindered them from growing. If anything, a new player, new kid on the block came to eat them and others for lunch. Umkhonto wesizwe. Many countries are going into election this year. This week, India went to election. They have the largest largest democratic election in the world. And over a period of 6 weeks, we voted 1 day officially, 2 days for special votes, and then I think it was 2 days for overseas votes. In India, it took 6 weeks and 7 phases for the elections to be completed with over 1 billion people voting. Yeah, 1 billion. Tina, we had, what was our number? 16 million. Not even 160 million. Jeez. People voting. 1 billion. Narendra Modi, Prime Minister, his party, the BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party, got the most votes, but they went down drastically. And again, the markets reacted because they like him. The opposition parties, which have an alliance, won. Wait, I want to get this number for you. They've got a 543 member parliament. We've got 400. And they didn't do too well. It's got a lot of people asking questions. The United Kingdom's going into elections. Their current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, of the Conservatives, is contesting along with the leader of the opposition of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer. Some people are saying we're probably going to see another shock there. I don't follow global politics. I can't give you insight on these things. Many people are trying to see what happened during COVID and the lockdown, and is there a shift in global politics where maybe some people are starting to lose trust with the incumbents. Other people are saying, no, there's a new world order coming and the incumbents have to kind of make way. Big push for privatization so that even if new left-leaning leaders come through, the incumbents will have shifted as much of the economy into private hands so that it becomes difficult moving forward. Jacob Zuma. Yeah, let me start with Zuma. Zuma ikako. Zuma is charismatic and very slick with the tongue. It's the reason why so many of us like him. Outside of scandals and those things. There was a court case between Mkhonto weSizwe and Jabulani Khumalo, who is the guy that registered the party. Mkhonto weSizwe, who was expelled from the party and who's now challenging the party to say it's his. And Jacob Zuma and other people have said, no, Jacob Zuma wanted this party. He asked Jabulani Khumalo to register it on his behalf, and then. So in that, you can go watch it online, that chat. He's speaking isiZulu. Some people are like, why is he speaking isiZulu? It's like they bring in this tribalism element, and it's like he should have spoken in English to be more inclusive. You're like, yo, yeah, the way abantu abamnyama are mentally broken. In a country where isiZulu is the most spoken language and most understood. Conversation for another day. Zuma said something that to me, and I raised it on Twitter. Zuma spoke about having to move underground for the purposes of achieving certain ends. And he said he asked Khumalo to register Mkhonto weSizwe because if he had registered it, there would have been problems and fights and. So he needed to do that in that way. And then later on, he came on to say, actually, this was my party. That was a huge red flag, and I was surprised at the time no one raised it. I raised it. If Jacob Zuma can go on a platform and say, I have once sent people to go register a political party on my behalf, and I have remained hidden because I wanted to achieve certain ends, would it not also hold that the same Jacob Zuma could also send people in private and secret to go and infiltrate aspects of business and the economy to serve his ends? I was like, but this is a huge red flag. This guy is confessing in secret, in private, to sending people to go represent him as a front, to represent whatever interests he's pushing, which he claims are in the interests of the black majority that is poor. Luckily, he can come out into the open now because seemingly he's done nothing illegal. No one can take him to court and say, you see, that's corruption. Zuma must go to jail. He sent a front to and register a party on his behalf. It's like, oh, you know what? I don't have to come out here because this is okay. He can't go on a public platform and state that, yeah, I sent the Kuchas. Yes, I sent Ututuzani. Yes, I sent these other guys to go and sit in state-owned enterprises and whatever. I sent these people to go and make money because I couldn't be there. I would have been compromised. I would have been attacked. He can't say that now because that immediately triggers legal ramifications. But how could he say something like that on a platform that he has done something which is deemed inappropriate to advance certain interests in secret? I would draw an immediate line with he's clearly done the same in business, the economy, etc. That really disturbed me. And I just wanted to raise that today. Let me keep it moving. I wrote a nice tweet. I think I'll save it for last. I'll save it for last. Naledi Pandor had been loved by a lot of South Africans, black South Africans, pro-BRICS, anti-West South Africans, for her stances on Palestine, for her stances on Russia and Ukraine. She was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, if I'm not mistaken. Umakoko. Hong Hong. Hong Hong Hong. Shout out to Willie Matisha. The ANC lost 71 seats in Parliament. She's been one of the casualties. She's not going back to Parliament. Another one, shut up and get out. Begicele, stomach in, chest out, has been released from Parliament, which means he won't be Minister of Police anymore. Ian Cameron is definitely celebrating. There was a time when I was championing him to be our potential Minister of the Police. He went on to join the DA. He's under the Democratic Alliance now. Really great young man, very passionate, especially about crime and safety and security. I just personally don't like that he's joined the DA. But he should be very happy that Begicele is gone. Defense and Military Veterans Minister, stalwart, Umamutandi Modise, is not going back to Parliament. Labour Minister Utulas Nxesi is not going back. And not Foreign Affairs, International Relations and Cooperation Minister Naledi Pandor is not going back as well. Before the elections, some of the announcements that we've gotten is that the Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan is planning to retire and may not be going back to Parliament. A lot of people, including myself, have got not nice views of Pravin Gordhan. The privatization agenda, there was that 51 rand sale of SAA, which he's still not accounted for, and some of the people that it seemed to be serving, rich people, while he was Minister of Public Enterprises. The Industry and Competition Minister, Ibrahim Patel, might be retiring. At some point, I was a big champion of this guy, doing very well, but I'm like, hey, but he's also very quiet. And ANC people on the ground be like, but we never see Minister Ibrahim Patel campaigning for Ukhongolose. She'd said this, and I think she was potentially meant to have a disciplinary hearing, because Zuma also said this on his platform, that when you go against ANC policy, which apparently ANC people voted with the DA to have him removed, you get disciplined in the ANC because you're meant to vote with the ANC, which I think is a huge red flag in myself, because it means the ANC is anti-democratic. Minister in the presidency, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, said she will be retiring and will not be going there. And then, as I said, Uzizi was resigned as Sports, Arts and Minister after allegations and the charge of corruption. I spoke about Umalema and how he's kind of gone quiet on Cyril Ramaphosa. Someone raised on social media that there was a link of a 100 million rand being taken, I think, from pension money linked to Enoch Godongwana, the Minister of Finance. And how at no point was this raised as a red flag by the media, largely the mainstream media, and including the ANC. But Floyd Shibambu, who it's not been proven, but who was linked to 16 million rand VBS bank scandals, he's been painted with this brush. And the hypocrisy is on these both sides. Does Umkhonto weSizwe really want to go to Parliament? One of the debates that went on this week was, if the 58 or 59 members of Umkhonto weSizwe decide to boycott Parliament and don't show up, does that mean that Parliament cannot vote for a president? There have been TikTok videos on people saying, yes, it means Parliament will have to be disbanded we may need to go to a re-election as a country as a whole. Some people saying, no, you only need 201, which is a 50% plus one majority. You need 201. Some people saying, no, if you read the legislation, you need a third, 33.3%, not even 50%, for Parliament to reach a quorum and to be able to carry on with the affairs of the National Assembly and to maybe even vote for a president. I currently do not have an answer for you, but these are the three contrasting thoughts. I don't know if Jacob Zuma is keen on Parliament, and I do think there's still a lot of anger and revenge in how the MK was set up. I do think there's a personal vendetta in wanting to remove Cyril. The part of removing Cyril for some people is beats the dog till the master comes out, the owner. If you remove Cyril, you want to see mainstream media making a noise to be like, but this is not your president. We're democratically saying we don't want Cyril. So why would mainstream media have an issue unless they have an agenda of their own? The markets react. No, you cannot remove Cyril, otherwise the economy will take a hit. Oh, that means this is not democracy. That means Cyril is there on behalf of capital and foreign investors, etc. Remove Cyril and the Rand takes a hit. Remove Cyril and the DA has an issue. We refuse to work with Paul Mashatile. But you're working with the ANC. No, we want Cyril. Oh, so you're not working with the ANC. You're working with Cyril. Does this mean that Cyril serves the ANC or serves the DA? Does this mean that Paul Mashatile serves the ANC or serves someone else? It could be the EFF saying we only want to work with Paul Mashatile. It could be Jacob Zuma and Dudu Zuma saying, no, in the ANC we will only work with, let's say, for example, Fikile Mbalula. Why? Who is this person serving? And is it not serving the collective ANC? So there's also that personal vendetta. Sorry. There's that personal vendetta and anger, which I can believe, of Jacob Zuma and Umkhonto weSizwe. There are, of course, undertones of tribalism. I will not deny those. Many Zulu people don't necessarily like Cyril. Some of them would have preferred maybe even uZweli Mkhize as a candidate for president. Some wanted uNkosazana Dlamini Zuma as a candidate. And there are those Zulu leanings as well. I can imagine many Zulu people voted for Umkhonto weSizwe, particularly because Jacob Zuma is Zulu. He speaks in isiZulu, and they don't like Cyril. But it's not as easy as just tribalism. Again, understand, Zuma radical economic transformation, pro-BRICS. We want to change the economy. We want to nationalize. We want to grab the land as an example. Cyril Ramaphosa, more pro-West, more for the capital, more for preserving privileged elite wealth. So it's not necessarily just tribalism, so to speak. But does Umkhonto weSizwe really want to go to parliament, or is it just an exercise, as Zuma said, to save the ANC from itself, or from infiltration from Cyril and his people? If Cyril can step down, if the ANC can go back to standing for radical economic transformation, if the ANC says, yes, we will expropriate land without compensation, if the ANC says, yes, the people need the land, if the ANC says, no, we are not pro-Israel, we are not pro-Ukraine, we are pushing and forging ahead with BRICS, and the ANC stands collectively and says, this is where we stand, maybe Jacob Zuma will be like, I believe the ANC has been rescued, and I would like to give all my MK votes to the ANC, and I would like to go back to all the MK supporters, be like, people of Umkhonto, our ANC has been saved. You can now go back home. You can now go back to your ANC knowing that we have saved it from the clutches of the West, from the clutches of monopoly minority capital in this country. Aluta continua. We are good. And who knows, maybe the EFF would be asked, guys, we've saved the ANC. All the things that you guys as the EFF want, the ANC's, we're back. We're back. And would a Julius then maybe go back, Floyd, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, etc. And maybe you give up Julius Malema being deputy president of the country. Under whoever becomes president then, maybe a Paul Mashatile, whatever the case may be. Because Zuma keeps saying he's an ANC member. He will die ANC. And the MK was a project to rescue the ANC. Which again tells me, Umkhonto weSizwe, it's not about being a party on its own to sit in parliament as its own entity. So does Umkhonto weSizwe really want to go to parliament? We don't know. We really don't know. I think those are all my notes for today. I've got two more notes. No, one more note. One more? Two more notes, sorry, two more notes. Let me start with this one because it's clean. So your boy, T-Pounds, T-Pounds, Tabo Bester decided to represent himself in court. Yay! We have had a lot of movies in this country. This movie is this country is a film. It's a series. We're in a movie. Tabo Bester, who was arrested along with accomplice Nandipa, Dr. Nandipa Makutumani, so Tabo Bester was called the Facebook rapist. I believe he raped. I think he may have killed people. Was arrested. There was the whole scandal with G-Force, or you guys know them as G4S. Scandals with, I think it was a jail cell in Mangaung, if I'm not mistaken. Nandipa would visit this guy. He went by different names. There was a body of meat burnt while he escaped. There was the picture in Woolworths of Tabo Bester. Then there was the hunt. Then they escaped and they were found, I think in Tanzania, if I'm not mistaken. And it's been scandals. There were the pictures of Tabo Bester and Nandipa seeing each other in court and the romance, and people saying, I want a Bonnie and Clyde love like this. If only my woman could. And it's been a movie. The father being involved. The brother of Nandipa being part of the documentary of Tabo Bester, I think it's on Showmax, speaking about how there were so many dodgy things here, but also exposing that he also benefited in some way. The monies that were looted, the businesses, the scams. That very famous video of political leaders, celebrities, known socialites in a room singing happy birthday to Tabo Bester, who was in prison at the time. A mess. It looks like South Africans are 5-2 singing happy birthday for Tabo Bester because of that speech he gave in court. I've only got 3 counts, Your Honor. And I'm not the worst inmate in this country. There are worse inmates than me. It's just because there's a political link to my case. He's 5-2 spilling the beans on the political links to himself, the work he's been doing and his case. We don't know if he'll spill the beans. Jacob Zuma has been promising to spill beans. May she rest in peace. Umamu Winnie, Nomzamo Matigizela, also at some point promised to spill the beans. Nothing. Tabo Bester says he'd like a petition from South Africans for him to be put to death, because at least then he'll be at peace. No, maybe Nandipa Makutumana and the jokes on Twitter, she was trying to cry, but the tears were not coming to the party. The tears were working from home. The jokes around one of the most famous coalitions in the country, Tabo Bester and Nandipa Makutumana. And some of the jokes about, this cold front requires a coalition, a very, very fruitful and constructive coalition. Because, we find humor in the pain and the stress and the struggles of this country. Kelly Kumalo was not been jailed. That Senzo Meyiwa trial, another very sad one. The AKA murder story with Tibbs, also a very sad one. Anyways, I just wanted to speak about Tabo Bester, and that you've seen it. So I think there's videos online that you can go and watch. We're gonna see how that will unfold as well. Yeah, it's been an eventful week, an eventful cold week. We've lost people, unfortunately. As I close, the tweet that I posted. Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Some of my Twitter pieces are dope, and they get more views than some of your favorite journalists and their newspapers and their online articles. Yeah. Because in your boy, if no one told you, I can fucking write, boy. 13 books. It's not a fluke. I write what I like. Stephen Bantu Bigo. Frank Talks. Let's see. I wrote this on the 5th of June. And it's currently on 278,000 views. 278,000. Your favorite journalist, boy. If these newspapers are not what was serious, they'd be getting your boy Penzo to be writing articles for them so that they can get those views and sell that ad space. I know people speak about my language, and I do apologize. I will currently not stop swearing. It's just a part of it's part of who I am. I have said this in the past, and it's something I've taught my children. When it comes to swearing, profanity, there's a difference between saying ugly things and being expressive. So the example I'd give them is, I would not punish a child of mine for being like, Dad, this is a fucking delicious meal. You're swearing, you're grounded, you're getting a hiding. No, the child was not saying anything bad. I would punish a child of mine if they said something not nice to a sibling, another child. You're ugly, you're fat, you're not a nice person, I hope you suffer. No swear words in there, but very harmful words. So you need to distinguish between just swearing and saying nasty things. You need to transcend to a higher level. I grew up on hip hop being an institution. Today, we as podcasters are building an institution of podcasting that educates, informs, enlightens, empowers, liberates mentally. I was raised on hip hop, man. I was raised on hip hop. Hip hop was my thing. And I learned the language of hip hop. And part of it was swearing. Because swearing in a certain context becomes a form of protest, becomes a form of activism. By the time your child is in the streets, jumping up and down, being gunned down, after they'd said, but mom, this is bullshit. You can't swear. But what they're doing is fucking wrong to us. You can't say that. What must I do? What must I do? So hip hop became a form of protest, and it became part of my language. So when people tell me to not swear, to me, can't speak for everyone else who swears. When you tell me to not swear, you're asking to forsake a part of who I am. My heritage, my lineage, my identity. It's no different to telling people don't speak that language here because they don't like indigenous languages. Telling Zuma, why is he speaking isiZulu? He must speak in the colonial English. Hey, Baba. I will not do that. So it is not out of disrespect that I swear. I do understand the concerns. Some people are like, I watch this with my children, my family. Trust, I fully understand. It's not because I disrespect you. It's to kind of explain where I come from and who I am. And how when you tell me don't swear, you're asking me to forsake a part of who I am. And I unfortunately will not do that. I'm tired of the political bullshit. Penny the Black Pen, 5th of June, 2024. I'm really tired of racists and idiots in South Africa. The elections and election results have left me drained and reminded me of how broken this country is. There's no rainbow nation. There's no unity. It's all fake. There are racist whites who want to preserve their wealth and continue exploiting black people. They get white zombies to defend them on socials, citing shit about markets, economic policies, and other rubbish. There are corrupt black leaders who serve themselves while getting poor black people to defend them, selling them false futures of prosperity. There are also uppity blacks who support white ideals because they've been let into privilege. Yet they cannot fully understand why their own extended family members are still undereducated, poor, and fucked. Racism is rife. Idiocy is at an all-time high. Politicians are still dribbling people and pushing their cults. Big business is laughing at the game, but slightly nervous about BRICS. BRICS is quiet and not vocal about what's going on in South Africa. We have a bogus democracy where 24 million out of 40 million people never voted. That's a 60% non-participation. We have 40% only 40% of eligible voters involved in this so-called democracy, where it's the amount of money, not service track record, that gets you to compete to be the chosen rep for the wealthy business people who own this country. People are debating capitalism versus socialism and communism. People are debating what's good for the markets, in brackets the rich, versus what's good for the people, in brackets the poor. Black leaders versus white leaders. 9 wasted years, Jacob Zuma, versus 6 horrific years under Cyril Ramaphosa. Meanwhile, all these politicians are the same. Rich, isolated, not affected by load shedding, kids at private schools, private security, in bed with the wealthy, serving their funders, fooling the dumb masses. It all makes me sick and tired, especially the constant self-destruction of the masses of poor black people who, like sheep, continue to vote for the sheepdog, who keeps scaring them about the big bad wolf, while cozying up to the farmer, who's the one that actually and ultimately kills and eats the sheep. Black people, and poor people generally, who refuse to buy local, who refuse to support leaders who care about their true upliftment, not talk about politicians, who refuse to work really, really hard, who continue themselves to support undocumented foreigners running businesses locally, etc. The truth is, what it will take to fix South Africa and South Africans is this: aggressive skills training at schools, compulsory sports at schools, turning schools into farms and workshops, taking unused land away from the owners and giving it to skilled people who can work it. Government subsidies for local businesses, especially for export, nuclear weapons, concrete borders and immigration, upgraded military training, local processing and beneficiation, renegotiating deals with the West and BRICS so that we can sell our goods at a higher price. Trying to find a form of pairing our currency to the dollar, the euro, and the pound. Weaning ourselves off of unnecessary imports of goods and services. A different breed of leaders who serve the nation and not themselves. All government workers using public services, renegotiated deals with foreign businesses that own chunks of our economy, and converting all foreign-owned land to leases, and many other changes. People believe that this needs a dictator. To be fully honest, you can implement a bulk of these changes in your own community without worrying about politics and other nonsense. Failing all of this, just focus on enriching your loved ones and keep moving to more conducive environments in order to serve your personal ambitions. Thank you for reading my rant, and letting me vent. 278,000 views and over 800 shares of the post. Yeah, man. It's a Friday. I'm a new child. Okay. I'm done for the day. 1 hour, 4 minutes. Time to get into your comments. Okay. I need to get closer so that I'm not squinting as I read. By the way, man, thank you again to everyone who joins these lives, to everyone who shares these lives, and to all the people that donate through super chats to these lives that I have. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I will not be reading all the comments. I'll just be reading the ones that I think are worth reading from my side. But again, I acknowledge and I see all of you. Thank you. They won't mention your name on these platforms because they see you as competition. Okay. That's from Musianas. Chantal Modisani. You're the recent weather catastrophe. I'm shocked and heartbroken. And again, our condolences and sympathies to people that lost loved ones with the flooding. Mucho, Ramuchela, I think. I think the electricity in my area is now Mother Nature because, wow, literally each day. I'm really sorry about that. Chantal Modisani, does government have an emergency fund for situations like these? And if they don't, they should. Sadly, a lot of money was looted even under COVID. So, Skulile Sibisi, how can one tell that a link is verifiable? Very, very tricky, I won't lie. But we do still, mainstream media, we still get a lot of our content from mainstream media. And then it helps to, after you've seen a story and a link, to see if there are other. At the end of the day, man, most of these things are just suggestions. You choose what you believe is the truth and what's not. Ndumiso Masengemi. True, we don't have a president currently. Let's see here. OB Sagefields, Gem of our garden route, farms and farmlands being washed away all along our coast. It's very bad. Really sorry about that. Baby Boom, read a book called Ragged Glory by Ray Hartley. I think that's a plug. Okay. Christopher Tanner, great to finally hear someone talking about what's really going on. I think there are a lot of platforms. If you just search online, especially a lot of South African podcasters and the like that are doing really good work. Yeah. Figil Mbata, not happy about this GNU thing, the Government of National Unity. However, will be content if the pro-Black African policies do not fall away with the inclusion of parties like the DA. Okay. People sharing their opinions on whether they like the DA or not, or what coalition arrangements they'd like. Dr. Chawuke, ANC ayisafani. It's just a fact. Life on safari, land distribution must happen, but with compensation. Al Qaidu, they must all work together. And I must say, Pen, I'm very disappointed in how you don't see what's currently happening, which is identity politics. There's absolutely nothing uniting about EFF-MK. Unfortunately, you're wrong. I am aware of this. And I said in my tweet about the cult way that people follow certain political leaders. Daniel Boyles, regarding a potential GNU, ideally I would prefer the presidency to go to a centrist party with only 1 or 2 seats so they can focus on finding the common ground to get work on. Let's see here. Nombali Matwele, love you, God Pen. Thank you so much, Nombali. I appreciate you. That other dude, Pen, would it be possible for members to have a one-on-one with you, even if it has to be at a higher tier? I think this is about my channel. So that would be something really dope. And it's something I've been toying around with in my head. There's a concept called, I think it's 1,000 true fans. I think OnlyFans was set up for it. Creating maybe a WhatsApp group, I'm not sure, of people who donate a certain amount of money to my work that I do so that they can have direct access to me and we can engage and where possible maybe organize get-togethers and where I'm invited to certain things or I have access to certain privileged information. I share it with those people who contribute and donate. It would mean some type of capture and I'd be very honest and open about that. But I'm really big on if people are going to donate and fund the work I do, to understand that I have a standpoint. And they must not think that giving me money means that they will change my stance or get me to say things that they want. However, they will have access to try and influence and impact some of my views. And I would be very comfortable and open to sharing some of that influence and impact. As an example, we know that Nelson Mandela was influenced to abandon nationalization because of the World Economic Forum and the sit down with Margaret Thatcher. That's something we know. It's on record. So we can say, for example, Nelson Mandela sold out So similarly, I would do something like that so that there's a track record of accountability and not necessarily be like, oh, this is me. It's like, it's not. It's because someone gave you money and now you've changed your tune. But it's something I'm toying around with, and I'll look into it and let you guys know. Chris van der Linde. Hi, Uncle Penwell. I was with you in high school, if I remember correctly. I'm not really sure, Chris. I went to Newcastle High School, matriculated in 2003. So if you were there at that time, sure. If not, then you must be confusing me with some other really, really handsome, good-looking, articulate young man somewhere. Let's see here. Ray Conan, why talk so much about racial injustice when you were literally a Freedom Front supporter? So number one, I'm not a Freedom Front supporter. Anyone who tells you that is lying about me. I think some people confuse that with my support for AfriForum. I've explained many times why I support some, not all, of the work of AfriForum. So yeah, people just mustn't lie about me. With that being said, I'm not aware that the Freedom Front has said we only stand for white people or we only stand for Afrikaners. If that is the case, it would be nice to be shown that, but they do have leanings. In the same way the EFF MK does not go out and say we are only for black people. They also have certain leanings. So people just mustn't lie about me. I am non-racialist, but that does not mean that I do not see race. That does not mean I support racists. It does not mean I don't have a stance on racial issues. It means that I do not judge people based on their race. Thank you. Crispy Crunchy, I can't get over how they didn't put a single apartheid leader in prison, but they are hell-bent on doing it to Jacob Zuma. I don't even vote. But like, come the fuck on. Okay. Let's see. Alchemist, we introduced trades into our schools to teach children farming, mechanics, electrician, plumbing, building contractors. Unfortunately, your government and politics, that's why I don't like politics in all its forms. They are not serious about real skills in schools, which is why I get frustrated and I wish certain communities could do some of this work on their own. Rude Boy, I acknowledge you, saying, please can everyone stay warm. Baby Boom, correcting what I was saying about Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa will remain president of South Africa until the next elected president has been inaugurated. His cabinet and national executive are also still functional until the next president has been decided. Thank you very much, Baby Boom. Sizwe Matebula, what about those who don't want to serve either sides? It's very tough for those of us who are sort of centrist in the middle. We get abused by both sides for not picking a side. So yeah. Vincent Matamu, the only power voting and governance has is to handle the basic municipal things, not the economy. Vincent Matamu, hence America has states and each state has its own governance policies. Let's see here. Rocky R, apartheid lasted for 46 years and black people have been suffering for those 46 years. See, Rude Boy, study the etymology of government. Govern your mental state, government, mind control. This is what some of the people here are saying. Moletsane pencil art. I'm in Swaziland, Eswatini. We vote for individuals. It doesn't work. Too much diversity, having over 50 MPs with different ideologies. So I understand this counter, but the problem is then don't call it democracy, because this is what some of us are fighting. It is not democracy for a political party, and then they assign whoever. I prefer constituency-based, where based on my region, based on my area, I know the person who is then in parliament fighting for what we want. And then if other people have the same views, you work to serve those people. At the end of the day, we just want leaders who serve the people. And currently we don't have that. We have leaders who serve whoever funds them at the highest level and who serve them. Nkumeleni Nimakabani, your hatred for Cyril will consume you. Laughing emojis. I don't think it will consume me. I don't really care much for Cyril, but I've said I don't like him. He gaslights me. He's very patronizing and condescending to South Africans. He wouldn't take questions during COVID lockdown. I do not believe he serves South African people, regardless of black, regardless of race. I think he's very much about himself, his family, and an elite, wealthy population, locally and abroad. I don't even think he serves all rich people in this country. So I don't like Cyril. I don't think my dislike for him consumes me. I don't really care. I just would like him to be gone because Baby Boom, is your foundation SARS registered? I believe so. But obviously, I have to clear that up because part of the reason you asked us is so that we can send out Section 18 certificates for people to be able to get tax deductions, legal tax deductions. So, Baby Boom, thank you for that question. Definitely going to be making sure that all my compliance checks out. Life on Safari. Steven Hazen will be gone soon. They can't get rid of him during these negotiations. I've seen similar people saying the same about Cyril, that after the new government has come into power, they'll get rid of him. Time will tell. DVNKFX, which party will lower inflation? I hope people will send you laughing emojis. That's the answer to your question. Rude Boy, the illusion of options makes us think we have to vote different. Kim Louise, as a white South African, I can assure you that Steven Hazen and Zilla irritate the shit out of me. Okay. Lesego Mabaso, privatization is not the world trend. That's a fair counter argument. I'm not really sure. Let's see here. Blue Cheese, cash and transit heist in Durban this week. Some say that this is how Zuma is funding himself. What do you think? I do not know, but there have been rumors in the past, even when he was part of the ANC, of cash and transit heists being used to fund the ANC. If that is ever proven to be true, I wouldn't be surprised then if some of those practices have gone into MK, maybe even EFF, etc. What did I want to say? There seems to have been political killings, by the way. I forgot to raise those. Some of the stories that are going out there, I don't know if they're verified or not. ANC leaders killing MK leaders, other leaders killing each other. There've been ANC, and IFP political killings over the last years, by the way. So that's very, very sad for us as well. And if you know anyone personally who has been killed recently, I send my sympathies and condolences. Politics is a very dirty game. So this is a bookmark, Lazy Couch Sessions. Mr. Penwell, sir, please speak on pyrolysis. Maybe not now, but the sooner the better, because I believe it's the cure for most of the problems we face as a country that affect the general citizen. Let me just look this up quickly. Pyrolysis is the heating of an organic material such as biomass, diesel, and all these things. Oh, did you guys lose me? Yeah. They play funny games while I'm not looking. Sorry. Pyrolysis is the heating of an organic material such as biomass in the absence of oxygen. The process of thermal decomposition of materials at elevated temperatures. I'm not sure if this is for alternative energy. Maybe that is what's being raised on biodiesel and the likes. Definitely a conversation worth having. See here. Patricia, Minister of Education, must go. That's Umamu Angie Motsecha. She has not done a good job, her and her department, sadly. Musi Yohannes, Bladen Zimande must fork off too. He's the Minister of Higher Education. Also, a lot of scandals as well. UNISA, Forte, unemployed graduates, NSFAS scandals and corruption. It's been a mess. So, yeah. Some guy says a re-election would be great. Kingst says there's a lot of resentment towards Cyril. His plan was to destabilize the ANC and it worked. There are people that had similar utterance about Jacob Zuma, and that's why COPE was formed as well. PT. How do you pronounce this? 8G. 8G. PT 8G. There's no saving the ANC is the comment here. Catherine Herman, where do you and the people of South Africa stand with the EFF? According to the polls, people stand at just under 10% is where they stand. Some of us on social media had said we were not happy with their open border utterings, of which they tried to clarify, especially more closer to the elections. But even with that, it just seems like the insensitivity of local South Africans and their cries, and the inability to accept that there's an issue with sovereignty and immigration. And we can only have a conversation about removing borders, about one Africa, etc., once we've actually secured the borders and secured our sovereignty. Many people are Pan-African. Many people want a free trade amongst Africa. Many people want a unitary visa where we can travel comfortably around the African continent, but not the way that it's being pitched and not with the issues we have now. There are undocumented foreigners in this country that commit crime, that kill people, that rape, and we cannot even track them because even if you find their fingerprints, they are not documented anyway. So I think they kind of had an issue there. Some of their more extreme policies around maybe communism, socialism, the land, the nationalization, even ordinary poor black South Africans, some of them do not agree with some of those sentiments. So that's where the people of South Africa stand, I believe. But many South Africans love the EFF. They love Julius. They love Floyd. I'm a huge fan of Floyd. They love Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. I'm a huge fan of Umama Kaula, Gadi, and many other EFF leaders as well. Ketambata, I don't know if this was directed at me. Why do you make it sound like Zuma is the Messiah? I hope that this is not directed to me because I don't believe that Zuma is the Messiah. He had a lot of power in the ANC and I don't think he used it effectively. Some say that he was throttled and what, but the fact that he failed. It's like Andre Terreita. He was the CEO of ESCOM. He can blame the mafias and all those things. The bottom line is he failed. And he gave us the worst load shedding ever. So, Patricia, Cyril, laughing emoji, failed a lot of people, both black, whites, even himself. PT, ITG, is there a future for the Afrikaner in South Africa? The short answer is yes. Musi Johanna is saying Tabo Bester must join politics. Lesego Mabaso, do you think that the Reserve Bank mandate should be expanded? I will say this about the Reserve Bank. The fact that it's privately owned, I think, is rubbish. It's not even about the EFF. It's not about extreme left. It's not even about the ANC of Oliver Tambo. It doesn't make sense that the Reserve Bank is not a state-owned entity. It does not make sense that it's privately owned. It has a huge impact. It is the heart of our economy because it powers the banks. It does not make sense that it's privately owned. So yeah, it's a no from me. But I know the history of the Reserve Bank, the Rothschilds, the London Central Bank, etc. It's a form of capturing of the world at large. Kuku play, Bester must not involve in Dabin Zaki. PT, ITG. The Afrikaner is a cornerstone of this country, but there remains so much support for parties that want us gone. And PT, I'm assuming you're Afrikaans. The number one people to be blamed for the stance of Afrikaners in this country is Afrikaans people themselves. Afrikaans people, by and large, and I'm a huge fan, people know this, I'm a huge fan of Afrikaans people. Afrikaans people have never, or have not as a collective, humbled themselves to apologize for apartheid. Many of them feel they have no reason to apologize. Afrikaans people are not actively involved in nation building. Afrikaans, by and large, are not involved in skills transfer, in sharing the land and the economy. And many Afrikaans people are still racist to this day. So the people I blame, number one, for how Afrikaners are viewed is Afrikaans people themselves. Then number two is political parties and propaganda, because it serves black political parties for the average black person to dislike white Afrikaners. But it would be for Afrikaans people to reach out a hand so that even if politicians are saying, Afrikaners, you're like, hey, Baba, don't tell us about Afrikaners. We work very well with those people. We live very well with those people. So you can fuck off with that. But Afrikaans people are not doing themselves a favor. Randall Abrams. All political parties are about self-preservation and putting themselves first. You can't make a change as a voter if you don't keep the people you select to be in power accountable. That's a fact. There are no consequences, by the way. of political parties going rogue, which we've seen very much. See here. Patrick Vianello, keep swearing. If people don't like it, they can leave the stream, lol. Guys, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone with the swearing. It's just how I speak, and I think I keep it to a minimum. Sorry. Akram Idris, why are you not speaking isiZulu? My preferred language is English. It's as simple as that. Other people are free to speak whatever language that they want as well. Gray A, swear, bro. Who cares? The reason why I asked the question of expanding the mandate of the Reserve Bank is because I stand to be corrected, regulating the financial sector and mitigating inflation in the country. It is the Reserve Bank, by the way, that's got a mandate to have inflation targeting, which they do through interest rate tweaking. So they do have that mandate, and it has a huge impact on this country. It has an impact on the price of food, the price of your child's school fees, our cost of living. It's a huge mess. Strange times. Shit is not a swear word. Jeez. PT says English is for everyone to understand, and that's not, by the way. Yes, it's inclusive. Yes, it can give me an audience in America, parts of Europe, the United Kingdom, a big chunk of Africans, of which English, I don't even know if it's in the top 5 of most spoken languages on the continent. Up there is Swahili, Arabic, French, some languages from Western Africa. Yeah, English I don't even think is in the top 5. I don't speak English to be inclusive. I speak English because it's my preferred language, even if it decreases my audience. I believe in South Africa, I would have a bigger audience if I made videos in isiZulu. We see this with SABC, specifically SABC 1. We see this with Ukhozi. We see this with Igagasi FM. We see this with papers like Isolezwe, Ilanga, as an example. The Nguni languages are more inclusive in this country than English. So, rude boy townships, they call us Amanika. Amanika, West Side, Tupac. Oh, Tupac. Son of Soweto, hi Papa P. Those who swear have limited vocabularies and are unable to develop a sophisticated way to express themselves, but you are free to swear. It's a fair argument by many people. There are many people who have a limited vocabulary and they swear, or they keep using the same word like, oh, so nice, it's nice, yeah, that was nice. So they have limited vocabulary, I agree. But for some of us, my vocabulary and my diction is not limited at all. I choose to swear because, like I said, hip-hop is part of my heritage. And if anything, hip-hop for many of us introduced us to a whole range of English words. Shout out to Immortal Technique, shout out to Cannabis. Who else is there? I know words like ambidextrous I learned from Ludacris. So I've learned a lot of English from hip-hop. I choose to swear because it adds an extra adjective to other adjectives I may use. But you've got a fair argument, but you cannot assume that everyone who swears has got limited vocabulary. I can use an expanded vocabulary and still say fuck in that. So it's just it's an opinion on your side, and I've got a different view. Let's see here. Strange times, decorum is used to box people to obey. I agree with you. I fully agree with you. Son of Soweto echoing rude boy, we used to call them Amanika. See, Kim Louise. I'm a white 64-year-old and I swear like a fucking sailor. We swear to express ourselves exactly how we feel. Don't apologize, Pen. Thank you. Watchwoman underscore P says you must speak Julius Caesar English. Pen, laughing emoji. William Shakespeare. Wherefore art thou, my fair maiden? Anyways. Sianda Dlamini, you listen to American rap, which used to demoralize African women and men. Those who swear were influenced by the Americans in African languages when the food is delicious. Gumnandi, but not fuck. And again, this is just one theory. Many things wrong with American hip-hop and American propaganda to this day. Many things wrong. But I cannot say that hip-hop pushed me to demoralize women. I don't generally go around calling women bitches and hoes. That's not my culture, not my language. I learned a lot from hip-hop. I get criticized for many things, and I'll use American hip-hop as an example. Um, I learn a lot from Afrikaans people and the Afrikaans nation in this country. And many people in the same vein will criticize me. Afrikaners were oppressive, they brought apartheid, they hate black people. And that's very fair, very correct. But I can tell you that I'm not there for that. Because I admire Afrikaans people, it doesn't mean I hate black people. It doesn't mean I support apartheid, etc., etc. I take the good and I discard the bad. So a similar thing with American hip hop. I learned a lot of good. It gave a lot of, especially black boys, confidence in a time when black boys had been oppressed in various ways. It gave us confidence. For some people, it's like the EFF, who are seen as radical and militant. We found a hero in Tupac, as an example, in the same way many kids see a hero and a role model in Andrew Tate, a free thinker, a free speaker. Some see that in Kanye West. If you look at the creativity and the art and the mental liberation of Kanye West, and then you're like, yeah, but Kanye swears, Kanye said bitches and hoes. Kanye, like, there are many people who admire Kanye, and it's not for that. They admire him for other reasons. Zuma, another good example, where people are like, you like Zuma, so you agree with the stealing at Nkandla, and you're like, no, I don't. I also think money was looted at Nkandla. But you said you like Zuma. Yeah, but I'm not a fucking block. I'm not a block of cement where it's either black or white. I understand that things have different shades, so I can dislike certain things about Zuma and I can love certain things about Zuma. Another one is podcasting. So in the same way you speak about American rap, people could be like, but podcasts are rubbish. They speak about gossip and they demean women, and you're like, but it depends on the podcast you watch. There are podcasts that are extremely educational. And this week, I watched Joe Rogan with Billy Costin. I watched a brilliant episode with the Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, and Dr. Is it Crawford? Female, is she a gynecologist? But she's in the female healthcare space. Speaking about infertility, an episode that I think every woman, every girl in high school and primary school should watch. Highly, highly educational. They just didn't touch on alternative medicines, but highly educational, very eye-opening for people that don't know that. These are the things that I'm passionate about, I speak about. But because I'm a man, because I've got kids with different women, I normally get bashed. Brilliant. That's a podcast you learn. You can't, you watch podcasts. So you also hate women and what? You're like, bro. So hip hop for many of us was not just about bashing women and demoralizing women. Andre 3000, some of the financial education of someone like Jay-Z, etc., etc. We've got hip hop graduates who have gone on to become business people. 50 Cent, as an example, who's also in media. You've got Nas, who invests in tech. Jay-Z, of course, as an example. We call him hip hop, and currently people have sort of canceled him. But P. Diddy built a lot of businesses, inspired a lot of entrepreneurs as well with the work that he did, etc., etc. So no, we cannot box hip hop to just be what you're saying, Sianda. But leave fair concern that must be raised, of course. Sidwell Miataza. Brew, the racial division. Bruh, the racial division makes me incredibly sad. Like in 2024, many South Africans don't want racial cohesion, something that I've sadly come to accept. Strange times, how can your colonizer be your therapist or rehabilitator? They can be. Very, very complex, very complex. So a colonizer, no, I don't wanna go into this. I don't want to go into this. Colonialism was very bad and caused a lot of destruction. We speak English today because of colonialism. Your parents can beat you and be strict and can deprive you of nice things, and you can still learn good things from them. So a colonizer can cause a lot of harm, but also bring a lot of good. This is not to defend and protect colonialism. It was bad. But it's to answer this question. How can your colonizer be your therapist or rehabilitator? There can be some good that we get from them as well. So, yeah. Karabo Musikidi, watching a live for the first time. Welcome, Karabo. Welcome to anyone else who's watching my lives for the first time. Khanya or Khanya. Mandatory training for matriculants who are not studying. Definitely. Let's see here. Signet. I've really enjoyed your content. Whilst we may not agree on all the topics, you have engaged me on the views on topics, which made me understand the other side and even swayed my mind. Thank you so much. A big part of the work that I do is to challenge perceptions, challenge perspectives, open you up to another way of thinking, because mainstream media and certain platforms out there are hell-bent on one-sided propaganda, and I want people to move out of that. Sorry, just lost network a bit. Sean, ketile. Hi, Pen. I wanted to find out what is your take on the ongoing coalition talks. I answered that. But this is the better question. Why are these discussions not being televised and discussed in secrecy? Boom. We speak about a CODESA where we don't really know what was agreed upon. And how different are coalition talks in private to CODESA? Very valid question and concern. Thank you very much, Sean. Kolani underscore RSA, would you agree to go to Parliament if Gayton McKenzie says he wants to give you one of his 9 seats? Unfortunately not. Hey, I wanted to say the 71 MPs that have lost their seats in the ANC, they were earning 1.2 million rand a year. Hey, that's good money, Baba. 1.2 million rand a year. Now they have to go and scramble somewhere. Hey, woo. I'm just thinking about this, that if someone invited me to sit in Parliament, it means I'm going to be getting good money, good perks. I get to go down in history as being a member of Parliament. Currently, I think I'm better served here. I'm not a Patriotic Alliance ambassador. I'm not part of the party. I'm not a member. I'm not a card-holding member. I also voted for Action SA under my regional national. I'm not pro-Action SA in that way. I'm not a member. Those were just my votes. I more, by and large, think the system is a mess. I don't like all, including Gayton, Herman, whoever. They're part of a system that is really broken and that needs to be changed. I'm for independence. I'm for constituency-based voting, etc. I like Gayton as a outie. I love Herman Mashaba as Ubaba and an inspiration. You know, I support and respect some of the work of Umaimani. I have huge respect, and I used to be greatly inspired by your Julius, Floyd, etc. I can respect the guys and some of the work they do, but the political system and politicians as a general, aye baba, luto. Ivan Skuman, I love specifically on the specific idea on farming and implementing it in school. I think it is our economic backbone. Start small, build and buy, and be accountable with land redistribution through results. That's pretty dope. Let's see here. Okay. Now I'm kind of tired. I apologize. There's still more. Geez, there's so many more comments here, and I apologize for that. I just want to go to some of the examples of some of the hip hop, because I have to give a shout out to hip hop. It's part of my identity, man. Gangstar, Wu-Tang, Black Star, geez, Talib Kweli and Mos Def. How could I forget? I used to live on Talib Kweli and Mos Def. End of high school, beginning of varsity. A lot of consciousness, a lot of education there as well. Black Thought, Common, yeah. See here, De La Soul. This is all, some of these are from Gray A, and Gray A is like, I'm a white boy, giving me all these names. Shout out to you, Gray A. Karis One. How can I forget Karis One? Only since I decided to go hard. Immortal Technique, Most Def, Common, Karis One, Tupac, Jay-Z, Siswami, geez, my favorite female rapper, and my favorite female artist of all time, Lauryn Hill, Queen Latifah, Black Thought, etc. Tell these clowns to get out of here with that hip hop is bare bullshit. They've been fed crap. That's what's up. Ken Show. Ken XO. Elon Musk has 9 kids, but he's a visionary. Penwell has 6, well, 7, but he's a horrible human being. Black people are always judged. Yeah, no, there's a lot of hypocrisy, but it's dope. It's whatever. Let's see here. Hey, these comments are so lekker, man. You, Mfundo Dlamini is asking me how's Rob Herstoff doing. Personally, I think he's good. I chat to him on WhatsApp every now and then. Let me see. He's been going on Biz News. He's been writing certain articles, giving his views on coalitions and whatever. Almost all his views I disagree on. Almost all of them. I'm like, nah, nonsense. We had a few chats on WhatsApp. I disagreed with some of his views on Zuma or whatever. That's Rob, and it's because, comes from a wealthy family and is quite vocal. I've been speaking to a lot of political leaders in certain political groups. Some of the guys that are MPs, some of the people that are going to be sitting in parliament, some of your ministers are in some of the groups we're in. Some rich people, black people, young black people, some who are well off, some who are ordinary, white people via DMs, on social media, of course, you guys in the comments here. So Rob is not the only person I'm speaking to a whole lot of other people. But Rob's thoughts are available online if you search. I disagree with most of what he's saying, and that's okay. But I disagree with many other views of white people, black people, some colored people, etc. So I just wanted to answer that because I know he's been releasing content. I'm tired. Ruben Forbes. I'm a high school dropout, like Casper Vest. We were too poor to continue school. I'm now self-teaching myself on finances, banking history. I studied the industrialists. I learned from you and others a lot. I'll hopefully succeed. Shout out to you, Ruben. I appreciate people who self-study. Even if you have the privilege of school, tertiary, self-studying is the most powerful form of studying. I told you about hip-hop. I've told you about podcasts. There are people that go to Coursera, the Khan Academy, that go to Wikipedia, that watch certain documentaries and videos, that go out into the world and learn. Self-study is the most powerful form of education. So yeah. Martin van Rooyen, I'm a white Afrikaans guy and I'm across you. Great to have all my perceptions challenged, and I'm glad you do it in a no bullshit way. Keep at it. Shout out to you, Martin. I appreciate you. Yeah. See here. Gray A added Red Man, Method Man, and The Roots. Of course, shout out to The Roots and Quest Love. So yeah. See here. Okay, that's enough from me. 1 hour 43 minutes. Yeah, the first 1 hour 4 minutes was just me giving my views, and then the rest was reading your comments. Have a great and blessed Friday. Please stay warm. If you've got family in some of these high-risk areas, please just check on them and make sure that they're good, and try and make sure that if you can move them, even if it's temporarily, let them move up to more inland, to wherever you may be, just so we can make sure that our family members and friends and our other loved ones are safe. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. We'll catch up soon. Have a great and blessed Friday and weekend further. Pen you well, the black pen. Cheers.